Good Saturday morning, folks. I'm going to run over a couple of the games or some of my favorite plays on this DK slate this morning. I love it. There's so many good value plays in the wide receivers. The running backs are kind of terrible. You got to pay up quite a bit. So I'll take a look at those, and then I'll just give you some of my favorite plays here. Let's see. Okay. So at wide receiver, I've cored Tyler Vaughns. He's way too cheap. 5,700 for a guy that's going to get most of the targets and receptions. I like him quite a bit. I think he's going to smash. Jerry Jeudy, my top-ranked wide receiver, goes without saying. He's a stud. I'll have him in a lot of my lineups for sure. Tylan Wallace as well for Oklahoma State, facing a terrible Tulsa team. They're decent in the secondary, but I don't think they can stop Wallace. He's going to get most of the targets as well. Michael Pittman's another wide receiver for USC. You can stack him up with Slovis, 6,600 for Slovis. That's super cheap. I love that combination. Trying to get Vaughns and Pittman with Slovis. You're not wasting any salary there at all. You can also pay down for St. Brown as well. He's 5K, so I like him too. Darrell Stewart crushed last game, 10 receptions, tons of yards. It wasn't like his first game where he had 7 catches for 30 yards or whatever. So I definitely like him. Colby Parkinson for Stanford against UCF. If they're behind, they're going to be throwing a ton, and he's the biggest target there. Tight end, but he's an NFL tight end. So I love that. Let me zoom in here real quick so people don't get pissed off at me because they can't see. Let's see. There we go. Okay. The NC State receivers, I don't love them just because I think they'll be able to run the football a ton. But if you're playing them, Emeka Emezi is 6,100, pretty cheap there. Tabari Hines is probably, he's way too cheap on DK, 4,300 for a playmaker. So I like that a ton. Thayer Thomas is also there, and he is 5,800. So I would rank them as I have them here: Emeka Emezi, Tabari Hines, and Thayer Thomas. Tabari Hines transferred from Wake Forest to Oregon, and then now he's spending his senior season with NC State. So he's got big playability. I like him quite a bit there. KJ Hill for Ohio State against Indiana, 5,700, way too cheap for a big play receiver that's going to get a ton of targets. You can pair him up with Justin Fields, which I will probably do a ton of there because he is too cheap. You can fit him in easily. Malik Knowles for Kansas State, he has killed it so far this year, and he's Skylar Thompson's favorite receiver. So if maybe you like that game to go off, 5,500 and 3,600, you're paying under 10K for that combo. So I like that quite a bit. Shante Jones for Iowa State has kind of crushed it early on. He has a ton of targets, 4,600. It is against Iowa, so it's a tough matchup. The total's not high, so you're kind of banking on those catches there. Tariq Milton's another guy for ISU I like. He's 3,800. He went off last year in games that their wide receiver that's escaping my mind that got drafted by the Cardinals was out. So I like him. Cody White for MSU, 6,100. He's much too cheap, and he can go off as well. Pat Freiermuth, 4,200 is a joke, and he's Clifford's favorite receiver. It's a high total. I can see him going off as well. You can pair him and Hamler together with Clifford easily and have a good little game stack there. So I like that. It's a very high total. I don't love the game. I think Pittsburgh's going to put up a little bit of a fight. So I don't know. I just like Freiermuth at that price, 4,200. That's way too cheap. Sam Crawford for Tulsa. He's a stud. Playing Oklahoma State, they're going to be behind, so they're going to need to throw the ball. $4,600. Way too cheap there. I like that. Micah Simon for BYU. I think they're going to be behind as well, and he is one of the best young wide receivers in the game, I believe. He's only 4,300, so I like that. Maurice French for Pittsburgh. He's going to be the target hog there for a team that's going to be behind for 5,400. Like that quite a bit. They also have Taysir Mack. He's 5,100 as well. If you want to run somebody back in your Penn State stacks, those two guys are pretty good options. Osiris Mitchell for Mississippi State's only 4,900. He's their big play guy. He gets a lot of the targets as well. A lot coming in on the health of their quarterback, Tommy Stevens. So just depends on his health, but 4,900 is way too cheap. Jalen Waddle for Bama, 6,100 against South Carolina's pass defense. He should smash at that price. Nobody's going to play him because he's too expensive, and they'll probably play Judy at 8K. Amir Smith-Marset, 4,800. He's Nate Stanley's favorite receiver. He went off last week for 2 TDs. So yeah, I could see that happening again. He's an explosive player, and ISU really hasn't been good on defense this year, so could be sneaky. Brandon Ayuk for Arizona State, 5,400. They're going to have to throw the ball because I don't see them running at all. So he could go off. One of those Arizona State receivers is going to go off. So we'll see on that one. Brandon Mack for Temple. He's my favorite Temple receiver. High total. Maryland's going to be behind, so could be a good play there as well. Let's move on to running backs here. Kylan Hill from Mississippi State. He's going to get most, if not all, of the carries there. 7,500, much too cheap. So I like him. Chuba Hubbard, no one's going to play him at that price. They're probably going to play the quarterback if they're going to play anybody. Hard to pair both of them together, and it's probably not optimal to do that. So 8,300 at low ownership against a bad Tulsa defense, and he gets targets too. So I love it. J.K. Dobbins against Indiana. He gets most of the carries, should get some targets as well. Indiana's rush defense isn't great. 7,500. These three are clearly, these four are clearly the top running backs. I'm leaning towards Anthony McFarland against Temple, 6,600. He's ran the ball all over the field this year, and he catches passes out of the backfield as well. I've cored him because of the price, 6,600. All four of these running backs are really close. I just wanted to go with the savings there, and it's a high total, so I love it. Cam Scarlett, he's not very explosive, but 5,900 against UCF. UCF's rush defense isn't great. 5,900 is a good value. Malapai for USC. Malapai, I guess. I don't know. Close. He's 6K on DK. Really cheap. Gets about 50% of the carries as well. Zonovan Knight is probably one of the top up-and-coming running backs, and he's going against West Virginia's terrible rush defense as well. So I love that. 5,500 on DK. He's going to be very low owned, so probably run him out in some lineups. Tyson Williams for BYU against USC gets most of the carries and should get some targets as well. And the most chalky guy on today's slate, Elijah Collins for Michigan State, is going to get the start just like last week. He looked great. So he was 3K last week. So and he didn't move an inch this week. So he's pretty much a plug and play for me today. I like that. I don't respect Arizona State's defense at all. It's a payback game, so he's going to have a huge game. James Gilbert for Kansas State looked great. Has looked great so far. So I love that. Najee Harris, no one's going to play him because of the price, and he doesn't get all the carries, but it should be a closer game, and they may lean on him a little bit. South Carolina's rush defense isn't great, and Alabama's offensive line is huge. So Mekhi Sargent, he didn't come through for us last week, which sucks. Just couldn't get it done against Rutgers of all teams, which sucks. But he's 6,400. He's a good bounce back target there against Iowa State. I think he's going to be really low owned. So if you want to play him, I don't hate it. Greg McCrae for UCF, 6,300 against Stanford. I see him as the big play guy there. So you could play him or Killins, 5,600, or Otis Anderson. Don't worry about the two running backs there. They use Otis Anderson different. They kind of have a package for him. Put him in the slot. He's 4,500. All he needs is really score you a TD, and you're good, and get some catches. So I love that. A lot of the guys are going to be playing Drake Anderson. I don't love him. If you want to use him in cash, go ahead, $3,700. But their lead back Isaiah Bowser's out, so I don't hate it, but I don't love it for GPPs because he's going to be kind of owned. Shamari Brooks for Tulsa against Oak State. Game script probably not in his favor. He's 4,800. He'll probably be higher owned as well. The back that I really like from Tulsa is TK Wilkerson. Came on late last game. He's 4,500. I only like him in like bigger GPPs, but he looks better to me than Brooks does. He's a bigger back, huge, can make some plays. So that looks okay there. Quarterbacks, Justin Fields. I'm just going to core him. Gets Indiana with the high total. Should rush for some touchdowns there. So I love that. He's only 9,200. Seems like a discount with how he's played so far. It is his first start on the road, so don't know how that's going to go, but I just want to plug him in. Tua was also under consideration for the core. It's these two. With the closer conference game, he can smash, and he's going to be throwing it to Judy quite a bit. So if you want to play a stack, I don't hate that either. Sean Clifford might be pretty owned today, 7,300, high total. My favorite quarterback on the slate is Keaton Slovis for USC. Love the new offense, the air raid. It fits him perfectly. He has a strong arm, and he's very accurate. So I like him quite a bit. Josh Jackson for Maryland, I like quite a bit too, 6,600, high total. If they're not able to run the ball, he can be a really good play there. He gets the ball out quick to his wide receivers. When it comes to pairing a receiver with him, it's rough. Demas is a big play guy, as is Jones. Mabry is solid, catches touchdowns. They go to him down near the goal line, so you can see that. DJ Turner, also an option there. I don't have him here, but he makes some plays over the middle in the slot. So get some water real quick. Spencer Sanders for Oklahoma State can also have a big game here. He's 9,300, so he's kind of pricey, but he can run the ball as well as pass it. Anthony Russo for Temple. I would pair Mack with him, as you know, it's a high total. You know, they should be throwing the ball if they're down to Maryland. Mack's a big play guy as well, so I could see that smashing. Matthew McKay for NC State. He runs them passes against a terrible West Virginia defense. 6,700 there. So he can smash today. I love him. If you want to pair him with some of the NC State receivers like Hines and Emezi or Thayer Thomas, I love it. KJ Costello against UCF. He's back today after a neck injury or concussion. I can't remember, one of those two. If you want to pair him with Colby Parkinson, I love it. Cheap option, cheap stack. I like that a lot. Brian Lewerke, if Michigan State for some reason can't run the ball, he can be a good option for you. Michael Penix against Ohio State, if he's playing, he is questionable, so 6,300, cheap. Skylar Thompson as well. One guy I want to add here, I just forgot, is Zach Smith for Tulsa. You know, if they're down, I can see him making some plays. He's kind of mobile, so you know, you can get out of the pocket and make some plays. Pair him up with Sam Crawford Jr. If you want to run a Tulsa stack back with your Oklahoma State stack. So Hunter Johnson for Northwestern against UNLV. You know, he can go off at 6,200. UNLV is a terrible team, so no one's going to be on him either because of his first game, and it was really bad. He got pulled, and then he had to, you know, their other quarterback got injured, and he had to come back in. But he was a big recruit from Clemson. He transferred in this year, so I could see that. If you want to pair someone with Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Daniels looks good as well, 6,500, but I'm not going to be on him. He's just there just in case. All right, let's move on to FanDuel here. Have quite a few wide receivers. You kind of lean towards the guys that can make big plays because of the 0.5 PPR. Brandon Mack for Temple's a big play guy. He's only 8,400 there, so I like that. I cored him, and I think he makes some big plays today against Maryland's defense. KJ Hamler was also under consideration there, as was Chase Claypool. If he's playing against New Mexico, he should go ham today. Alec Pierce for Cincy is their big play guy, 6,800. I could see them going over the top to him quite a bit if you want to pair him up with Desmond Ridder. Pretty cheap option there as well. Osiris Mitchell from Mississippi State was too cheap. Omar Bayless for Ark State. They're playing Georgia today, so they should be down quite a bit. He scored 5 touchdowns on the year, so he's their big target. I like him quite a bit as well. Tabari Hines is 9K, a little bit more expensive than he is on DK. Pat Fryermuth for Penn State, 8,200. All the OSU receivers are in play here. They're not super expensive, so they're easy to fit in. Tony Brown for Colorado has been making big plays all year, 7,600, so he's pretty cheap. Jahan Dotson for Penn State, also a big play guy for 7,900, high total. And Benjamin Victor is known to make big plays, 8K there. Running backs, Tony Jones Jr. against New Mexico. He's going to get most, if not all, of the carries, 8,800. So I cored him. DeAndre Swift against Arkansas State should have a field day. It's 9,400. Kylan Hill shows up everywhere. So 9,100 there. Anthony McFarland, 10-1 on FD, a little higher than what he is on DK. So I don't love him as much. Zonovan Knight for NC State is 8,100. I love that. he's going to be under the radar if you want to throw him in some lineups as well. Zamir White for Georgia, aka Zeus, 5,400 on FD, and it's going to be a blowout game, so I could see him getting some carries. 5,400, he doesn't have to do a whole lot there as well. Ramon Davis for Temple, he's been coming on of late. He's kind of a bigger play guy than their starter, so I like him, 5,900. Shaq Van for Eastern Michigan, 6,600. He gets most of the carries. And Amari Davis for New Mexico, 6,700, gets most of the carries. We don't know much about this Notre Dame rush defense, so they kind of got gashed by Louisville. So I kind of like him in deeper GPPs as he gets most of the carries. For quarterbacks, I cord Justin Fields again. He's kind of pricey, but he's my favorite option over there. Ian Book also, but if playing Tony Jones Jr., you don't want to double up there. Josh Jackson for Maryland, 9,100, too cheap. Desmond Ridder for 8,900 is too cheap. And Matthew McKay is pricey on FD. He's way too cheap on DK and way too expensive on FD. I'd rather play Zonovan Knight over him at 8,100 and get a lot more points, I think, against that West Virginia defense. Sean Clifford for PSU, also expensive. It's a high total, so that's kind of crazy. Anthony Russo for Temple is too cheap, 8,700, high total there. He could go off. Michael Penix, if he's playing, he's questionable. He could have a big game as well, at 8,200 on FD. Skylar Thompson's too cheap, 7,700. It's not a high total, but he does rush the ball a little bit, and he can throw, so I don't hate that. Two deeper GPP guys are the two quarterbacks from Colorado and Air Force. A little bit higher total than I expected. That's the only reason why they're here. Donald Hammond can run the ball. Colorado's rush defense has not been great. They got gashed by Nebraska last week, and a quick turnaround to play an option team is always a good equation. He's 9,300 on FD. So just let me know if you have any questions. I got all of the plays lists up. I'm going to be working on the afternoon slates now and after I make my lineups. So just let me know if you have any questions. I'll be in the Discord, and I'll talk to y'all soon.